Okay, good morning, class, and welcome to Math 9. Today we're going to continue on with our second set in the rational number unit. We started task 3 yesterday, and yesterday we talked about adding and subtracting whole numbers, integers, and decimals. And we had an example of a fraction with a common denominator. So today, just following that, our second lesson on that set, we're going to be looking at adding fractions with different denominators. That means that we are going to have different numbers in the bottom of the fraction. So here's an example of 2 over 7 plus 3 over 5. Now when you have fractions with different denominators, we have to get something that's common for both. And there's two ways of doing it. There's one that's called the butterfly method, and there's one that's called the lowest common multiple. The butterfly method is based on if you have a butterfly, just to draw it, we're going to have two antennas and a body with a little bit of a tail to it. So I'll show you a little example on the next page here. What we can do is look at the cross multiplication for the butterfly. The antennas, we're going to do another operation. And the little tail will do something else. So let's just start back with that. I'll try and draw it the same way. These are our wings for our butterfly. These are our two antennas. And the tail, let's see how we drew that. Just a little tail on the bottom here. Now, what we look at is what happens to put in this value here in the butterfly, 7 times 5. The bottom denominator numbers are 7 and 5. So we're going to multiply those two numbers. And 35, we put them in here. Then we look at what is it when we multiply 7 times 3. 7 times 3, 21. Okay, so we're going to put 21 here. And what happens when we multiply the 5 by the 2, going this way? So 5 times 2, 10. So 10 we're going to put on this side of the butterfly. Okay, so now we have a common denominator. It means that we're going to have 10 over 35 plus 21 over 35. Now we have a common denominator, so we can add them. And we have a plus, so we're going to add the two numbers. 10 plus 21 is 31 over 35. So that's called the butterfly method. We use one called the lowest common multiple. And here's the other way of doing it. There's our butterfly. Let's see what I did here just to quickly review. I multiplied the two bottom numbers, the denominators, 7 times 5, and I got 35. And then I multiplied 7 by 3, and I got 21. I put that up where the antenna is. And then I multiplied 5 times 2, 5 times 2, and I put up with the other butterfly antenna, 10. And then I add my two antenna values, 10 and 21, and I got 31 over 35. The second method that's probably more common is the LCM, or lowest common multiple. So what we look at is, how do we make this a common denominator? We know it's got to be 35. So from 7 to go to 35, we have to multiply it by 5. So we take that number, 7 times 5 would be 35. And whenever we do the bottom, we have to do the top. So 2 times 5 is going to be 10. And then we do the same here. What do we have to do to 5 to go to 35? We have to multiply by 7. And if we multiply it by 7 here, we have to multiply by 7 at the top. And that becomes 21. 3 times 7 is 21. And then we add the 10 plus the 21, and we get 31 over 35, just like we got here. So those are two methods for adding with different denominators, the butterfly method and the LCM. If we have mixed numbers, okay, what we're going to have to do first is change that to a proper fraction. So minus 3 1/3, we change that to improper fraction. We go 3 times 3, so 3 times negative 3 is going to be negative 9. And we have to add plus 1 here. So that's going to be negative 8 over, negative 10 over 3. We have a negative 9. 3 times 3 is 9, and we have to add the 1. So it becomes a negative 10 over 3. So that's a negative 10 over 3, and then we do the same for 2 and 5, 6. 2 and 5 over 6. So we multiply 2 times 6 is 12, plus the 5, 17 over 6. So that's one fraction, and there's our second fraction. So if we have them now, minus 10 over 3 plus 17 over 6. If we use the butterfly method, first thing we do is we're going to multiply 3 times 6. That's 18. So we put 18 here. Then we go 3 times 17. That's going to be our first antenna value, 3 times 17. Put that in our calculator, and we'll get 51. So that's 51. And then we go minus 10 times 6. To that antenna. So 10 times 6 minus 10 times 6 equals minus 60. So this goes up here, minus 60. We have a common denominator now. And we take minus 60 plus 51. Remember, we have a negative and a positive, and when we add them together, the higher number is negative, so our answer is going to be negative. So minus 60 plus 51 would be minus 9 over 18. Always check and see if you can simplify that. If we divide both by 9, we can simplify that. 2, 9 divided by 9 is 1, but it's a negative 1. And 18 divided by 9 is 2. So we can have a minus 1 over 2 or minus 1/2. That's the same thing. If we do the LCM method, we put our two numbers here. We've already changed them from a mixed fraction to an improper fraction. Okay. Remember, we changed minus 3 1/3 to minus 10 over 3, and we changed 2 5/6 to 17 over 6. Now we need to look for a common denominator. We'd say, okay, what will it take to make 3 and 6 common? Well, 6 is common for both. We can either use 3 times 6 is 18 if we want, or we can say that 6 is common. So, to make 3 to 6, we have to multiply by 2. So if we multiply by 2 here, we have to multiply by 2 here. So that's going to be minus 10 times 2 is minus 20, and 3 times 2 is 6. We already have 6 over here, so they're common. Now we can add the 2, and again, remember that that's going to be a higher number is negative, so our answer is going to be negative. So minus 20 plus 17 is going to be minus 3 over 6, and if we reduce that, divide 3 into both, minus 1/2. The same that we got with the butterfly method and LCM. Okay. And there it is. I've done it neatly on the next page, so you can see here's your butterfly method. There's your LCM. You can use whatever strategy you want. Here we have 5/8 plus 14 over 3. If we use the butterfly method, right here, 8 times 3, multiply the 2, we get 24. Then we cross multiply, 8 times 14, we get 112. And then we'll take 5 times 3 is 15, put it up here. If we add the 2, we add the 15 to the 112, we get 127 over 24. Take our calculator and divide that, we'll have 5. And if you use a calculator, it will give you a decimal, but if we divide 127 by 24, we're going to get a whole number 5 and some decimals. Well, just take our 24, multiply it by 5. We know that that's going to be even. That comes out to 120. We have 127. We take away that 120. It leaves us with 7. So we're left with 7 over 24. So 5 and 7 over 24. If we want to keep it into fractions. Using the LCM method, we need to find a common denominator for 8 and 3. So we multiply 8 times 3, and we get 24. So in order to get to 24, I had to multiply this by 3. Got to multiply this by 3. So 8 times 3 is 24. 5 times 3 is 15. And here, to get to 24, we have to multiply by 8. Means we have to multiply this by 8. So 3 times 8 is 24. And 14 times 8 is 112. We add the 15 to the 112, and we get 127 over 124. Again, you divide that, you get an even number of 5, and 5 times 24 is equal to 120, and means that we have 7 left, so it'll be 5 and 7 over 24. Okay, so you can choose whichever strategy that you're more comfortable with. Subtracting, if we're going to use the butterfly method or the LCM, remember that when we have a negative and a negative, the rule is that we can change it to positive. Now, if we're going to use the butterfly method, we need to multiply 5 times 3, which gives us 15. Then we multiply 5 by 2, and that gives us 10. We multiply 3 by 11, and we get 33. So that's going to be 33 over 15 plus 10 over 15. And if we add the 2, we get 43 over 15. And if we divide that, we're going to get 2, and 2 times 15 is equal 30. I have 43. 43 minus 30 is going to equal 13 left over. So 2 and 13 over 15. So our answer is 2 and 13 over 15. Okay? And there we have it. Done by the butterfly method. And here we can also do it by the LCM. Multiplying the bottom by 3 to get to 15 means multiply the top by 3 to get 33. 3 in the bottom multiplied by 5, we get 15. And then 2 times 5 is 10. Add the 2, we get the same thing. So subtracting, one more example. Minus 5 over 4. Minus a minus means it's a plus. We have to get this mixed fraction to an improper one. So multiply 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 5 is 8, plus 1 equals 16. So that's going to be 16 over 5. Now, to get a common denominator, we can use the LCM method. So we multiply 4 by 5. We're going to get 20, right? So now, to go to 20, we have to multiply 4 times 5. To go to 20, it means we've got to multiply the top part by 5. So that makes it 25. And here, we have to multiply by 4 to go to 20, which means we've got to multiply this by 4. 16 times 4, 64. Then we add these two. 25 plus 64 is going to be 89 over 20. Oh, you're right. Mistake. This is negative. So this is a negative 25. So negative 25 plus 64. Negative 25 plus 64. That's going to change the final answer. That's going to be positive. Bigger number is positive. So we add those two together. We have 939 over 20. Now we can divide that. Our answer is still going to be negative. We're going to have 1, 39, and 20. Leaves us with 19. So it'd be 1, 19 over 20. So minus 1 19 over 20. So make sure you pay attention to the signs. You can see that I had forgotten that that was a negative. So make sure you always remember. Things happen. That's right. So it's good to check. And there's the answer again. 1 negative, 1 positive 1 and 19 over 20. Positive 1, 19 over 20. We get that? Oh, made a mistake there. It should be positive. Bigger numbers positive. Positive 1, 19 over 20. There's a second example there. We'll just move on to the last page of your assignment. So you're using the same handout set that I gave you in the last lesson. You're going to complete this time a duotang, pages 13 and 14. And on page 100 and I have to check that page. It's not 112, 13. So we'll look at it. Here's your duotang page, number 13. There's your duotang page, number 14. And the last one is page 112. So we're going to go back to the sign, make that correction. That should be page 112. And just do number 11, A, B, and D. We'll save that again. And that's it for today. Next week, our next lesson, we'll start on the integers. Thank you. Have a good day.